You already know what time it is. It's your boy DJ Richie Skye back with some tea, interviews, recaps, and more. And be sure to check the links in the description of this video for trips, for books, one-on-one sessions, and more. Now let's get into the tea. All right, y'all, we are back in the building. Skye Squad, what's going on? We got a couple of things that we got to discuss today, so I want to dive right on in. I wanted to talk about one of these yesterday, but I was like, you know what? I had so much going on yesterday. I couldn't even slow down enough to like get in here and chat with y'all yesterday. So let's start off with where we left off the other day. All right, first things first. Remember, we talked the other day about how Adriana Demora from the Real Housewives of Miami, when she was on Watch What Happens Live, she talked to Andy about who the rudest housewife from another city that she felt was, and she said it was Gizelle because of some incident where they were riding together in the same car, I guess the same car service, leaving BravoCon, and Gizelle got upset with her and gave her some level of sass, allegedly, because Adriana got in the front of the car, and I'm assuming maybe Gizelle thought that was going to be for her. I don't really know what happened, but all I know is that Adriana was like very quick with it, and it didn't hesitate when she said that. Now, when we did this story, a lot of you guys felt like you could see it being the case. I can honestly also see it being the case as well. I mean, I just have I've heard of people who have kind of had contact with her, who have kind of expressed the same sentiments. But I mean, listen, sometimes you never know whether or not somebody just reads as cold when you interact with them for the first time, or they're just plain nasty or rude. So I can't really say that for certain, because I haven't really had that experience. So I would have to have it personally to be able to tell you that myself. But Mia chimes in and she says facts. Okay. You know, a lot of y'all in the chat weren't the only ones that felt like y'all could see that, because apparently Mia is chiming in with the same thing. Now, you know, for me, I mean, I don't know if that maybe changed during the course of time, because at one point in time, they were definitely pretty cool, right? So maybe she feels that way now. But somebody else that really feels that way is Caroline. I don't know if you guys remember. Listen, Caroline from Real Housewives of Dubai. Baby, let me tell you something. I personally liked Caroline a lot. It's a kind of a shame that, and for those of you guys who are wondering, Caroline Brooks, right? So not to be confused with Caroline Stanberry, but Brooks, right? And they used to call her Brooks on the show, I guess, to make the distinction. But essentially, Caroline Brooks says she is rude. She yelled at me in front of my mom at BravoCon, yet another BravoCon reference, because I said she's mixed race. I didn't know she claimed to be completely African American. I didn't know her or watch her show. I just say that she's clearly biracial or multiracial. And I said, yes, the mixed race lady from Potomac. I said the same things about Robin, and she was super nice. It didn't bother her as much. She just explained to me that growing up, people would say that, and it was problematic for them for a lot of reasons, and they do identify as Black. I said, okay, I understand, and moved on. But Gizelle went crazy, and my mom had to literally stand between us. She's rude. I would love to see her percentage of African DNA versus European if she's willing to do a little test. So, I mean, you know, this response kind of goes a little bit further into things that I don't think that Gizelle should or would do, right? I don't think that she has to prove her ancestry to anyone. But I think that sticking more so to the point, you know, this could be something that people do react to in a strong way. So, I mean, I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you guys think that Gizelle was in the right to respond to Carolyn Brooks in this way? I think that it could have opened the door to a conversation, because here's the thing. Listen, you could look at them. I have friends, or I actually get asked this question myself. Like, you know, what are you mixed with? You know, this, that, and the third. And it's, you know, it is what it is, right? You know, different features could be, for some people, an indicator that you could be something else, right? And then it's funny because it also kind of depends on where you live in the world, right? Just from somebody who has traveled quite extensively, what I can say is that in different parts of the world, you don't know where anyone is from. I remember living in Miami and, I would get into the car. And as soon as I got into the car, people would start speaking to me. Like there would be certain drivers that may start speaking to me in Spanish, potentially thinking I could be like Dominican or something like that. So you just never know, right? So I think that in these times, we have to kind of be open to like people either interpreting us a certain type of way or misinterpreting us in a certain type of way, and then having a conversation to clarify it. But I don't think that Gizelle needs to do any type of DNA testing or anything like that to prove whatever she is, because if that's what she claims, that's what she claims. That's it, period. What do you guys think? Let me know in the chat. All right. I wanted to kind of hit back on that because I felt like there was more to it that we needed to discuss. So that's why I wanted to talk about it today. Let's get into K Michelle and Kirk and Rasheeda getting into it. Now, you guys know, I don't know if you know this or not, because we didn't really have much of a chance to talk too much about it, but Rasheeda is in the news again for a lot of reasons, not only with Love and Hip Hop as we typically discuss, but also because the people are discussing whether or not we're going to go see Rasheeda on tour. Do you want to go see Rasheeda come into a city near you? I mean, that's the question. So I don't know if that's maybe why K Michelle chose to sing her song Rasheeda Got Bags at one of her concerts, because K Michelle stays on the road, right? She stays doing something. I actually admire that a lot about K Michelle. Listen, if you really want to boil it down to something, you got to kind of give it to even Kirk and Rasheeda, because as much as we may feel certain types of ways about them, it seems like they stay in like booked and busy and paid. So I'm not hating on that. But anyway, Rasheeda got bags. K Michelle performs her song Rasheeda Got Bags at one of her shows. And so Kirk then hops into the chat. Shout out to the Neighborhood Talk. Also, shout out to the Bravo Shade Room for that other story. I just wanted to make note of that. All right. So anyway, so Kirk is like, yo, like, let's compare these streaming numbers, right? You know, because we need to see, right? And I'm just showing you two of the little clips that he played, right? And he says K Michelle, he points to the fact that she has 594.1 monthly listeners. I'm assuming this is Spotify, obviously, because it is what it is. I don't know why I don't listen to Spotify. Do y'all listen to Spotify like that? I've been using Apple, so I'm not a Spotify person, so I would not this would never register to me. Anyway, she says the comments versus the stats, but chill out before we give up your opening spot. Oh, and that B stands for billions, because one of the slides that he posted was basically like, I guess the B was like standing for like 2 billion like listeners or something like that. I don't really know, to be honest with you. I'm not getting into the weeds with that. And then he points to Rasheeda's. So you see K Michelle's was at 594,000. All right. 100,000, 500,000, right? Almost 600,000. And then Rasheeda's is at 4.1 million monthly listeners, right? So he's basically saying, like, girl, you singing about Rasheeda bags, but she also got the B's for the billions and millions of monthly listeners. Okay, so maybe Rasheeda got M's, Rasheeda got B's, Rasheeda got bags. What about me? And so K Michelle responds to Kirk, comparing those numbers, and says, you really sat there and let that man embarrass you again. This is about mocking a woman's abuse for years. So she says, you really sat there and let that man embarrass you again. Talking to Rasheeda, talking about Spotify listener for a TikTok challenge song. Crazy. I'm number one, because it says crazy. I'm 4 number one Billboard albums, 2 platinum records, 5 gold records, and just got off stage that I have been on for years. You want me to keep going? This music discussion ended before it started, just like your comical rap whisper. Everyone knows that you're not a talented lady. Don't deflect. This is about mocking a woman's abuse for years and being the ringleader of this bashing me circus. You're most known for the longest running fool on TV. You got the karma you deserve. Now I'm going to sleep. I have another show tomorrow. Let me tell you something, baby. K Michelle, don't play. All right. Man, Rasheeda is getting it from all angles these days. Like, I mean, shout out to Pressed. All right. So anyway, Lord, I done took myself off screen. Let's talk Love and Marriage Huntsville because why not? Right? I did watch the episode last night. So speaking of the episode, what do you guys think about it? How are you guys feeling about this season so far? This is episode 4 of season 10. It's called Cowboys and NDAs. And the description reads as such: drama takes over Trisha's Western themed birthday party when Nell confronts Kimmy and Tisha about their lack of transparency. And the men corner Chris about his NDA comments. Tensions rise when Tisha steps in and demands Chris tell the truth. All right, so if I had to rate this episode on a scale of 1 to 10, I would probably give it about an 8.5. I'm interested in finding out where this story is going for everyone and how they're going to weave these stories together because, you know, it seems like there's 2 groups of filming happening, right? One group seems to be consistent of one group seems to be the main, like the cast, right? What would seem to be the main cast, which is the Scots 1.0, 2.0, Nell and Chris Fletcher and Trisha and Ken. That seems to be the core group that we're seeing a lot of. And then there seems to be the A group, and then there's the B group, which seems to contain Martell, and it's so many Mars on this show. Maurice, Martell, Marceau. Um, Martell and Destiny, for who we again don't see in this episode. Destiny, I should say. We do see Martell, and to be honest with you, this conversation I felt like could have been 3 minutes shorter. I mean, because really it's about, I do enjoy seeing Miss Marlene because, I feel like it offers up a softer side of him. But I also, it's kind of up for debate, right? She is his mom, so of course she is gonna likely have to. She's gonna likely coddle his behavior, and that's pretty much probably where we're gonna go with that. But I also think that it seems to me the conversation felt repetitive in the sense of it seemed like Martell was basically trying to get his mother to say she's in a good space with Ariane. Period. Right. The end result of that conversation is we now know that Miss Marlene is in a good space with Ariane. She was not before. She misses the relationship and the family unit that they had when Martell was married to Melody. And that really was the gist of that conversation. It could have been it could have been a 30-second conversation, to be honest with you. They could have had that on the phone. But again, I'm assuming that at this point, he needs somebody to film with, and being so disconnected from the rest of the group to the point where Trish and Ken, they're not even inviting him to the party, to the Ponderosa that they're having, the Western themed party that they're having for Latricia's birthday. And where is Destiny? Like, they didn't even mention why she was not there when everybody else in the cast was there. Even people who are on the periphery were there, like Lance and Ken's homeboy. So to me, I kind of just feel like, how do we integrate this group? Because otherwise it kind of feels like, what is the point in Martell being there other than, I guess, maybe he is a person who helped found the show, right? So, it's just a disjointed type of situation that, and again, it's been one episode of disjointing since this is kind of like technically one of the first all casts events, I should say. But I don't know. I'm just telling you how it felt watching it. So anyway, speaking back of the A group, we leave off last episode with a conversation that happened between Kimmy, Maurice, Letitia, and Marceau about Jalen. And the end result of that conversation is that everyone asserts that Maurice needs to listen to understand versus listen to defend, because if he would listen to understand what everybody was saying, he would understand that just maybe there is something to the feelings that not only Kimmy has, Marceau has, but Jalen also has, that, yo, you do treat him differently. You may not mean to, but you are. And what are you going to do about it now? Period. That's where it starts and it stops at this point, because you Can't really go back and change the past, but what do we do going forward? Boom. Next. Latricia, is having this birthday, Ponderosa. It is going to be a Western theme, of course, as most things are these days, because we are in our cowboy and cowgirl era, right? And so, right on theme, Latricia is having this birthday party, which also seems very much Ken coded as well. I mean, listen, last week I mentioned that I usually don't like Trisha's hair, and it literally slipped out of my mouth. But I will say that I did feel better about it in this episode. Um, I think in her confessional, when she has like is that the bust down part in the middle? Is that what they call it? Anyway, I ain't with the lingo. But I do like that color for her. I felt like it complements her. So I was kind of also feeling the bayangs down to the eyeballs a bit better than the braids that were, I don't know what they were doing. So anyway, improvements is what I'm saying. She doesn't quite look as comfortable in front of the camera taking photos as I would expect that she would, given that she is in such great shape, right? But not everybody is like that. So, sometimes some people just fall into place when they get in front of a camera, and some people don't, and they have to work on it. Ken was kind of a second thought to me because he just seemed kind of like an accessory, to be honest with you. A big, bulky, muscular accessory. So, why he was in the photo, I don't know, because I do agree it is her birthday, but it's her birthday, so she could do what she wants. Um, Nell has a conversation with Latricia about her level of discomfort with Letitia and the Scott women who she feels like aren't as transparent. And to a degree, I kind of feel like I don't know what she wants from them specifically. Um, I guess what she wants is, for Nell and Chris, they are open about the infidelity that has happened in their marriage. And I think that they're probably a bit more open about it, maybe because of the time frame that of maybe how many years ago it happened. I really don't know, but they're just at a different space. And they're older. It's so it seems. So I think that they probably could be right. And it's kind of like, okay, we have decided to spend our lives together. We are partners in this situation, in this marriage. And a lot of people don't oftentimes realize that a marriage is also, it is as much as you want to say, oh, I love this person. I want to spend the rest of my life with this person. It is also with the frame of mind that for better or for worse, till death do us part, and the degree of forgiveness that can happen within a relationship depending on who, I mean, what the situation is. Because I mean, it's kind of like a business as well, to a certain degree. So you kind of have to understand that. I'm not saying that, whatever you decide for your relationship is what you decide. That is my stance on this. So with that in mind, I would also wager to think that to a certain degree, if the ladies of Scott 1.0 and 2.0 have either experienced this level of um some type of marital indiscretion as Nell has done, then I don't think that. And as I watch more of these shows, I just kind of have come to this conclusion because I'm thinking about like the Yandys, I'm thinking, and the Mendices, and I'm thinking about the Rasheedas and Kirks. And the more I think about these situations, I just kind of have come to the conclusion that, you know, at a certain point in time, I think some of these relationships, they just kind of realize that at the end of the day, we better together. And that's just what it's going to be. But I think the part that frustrates viewers is the amount of like angst and anger that they kind of like have in those situations when it seems like it's so bad. And then they just go right back to the same thing and it happens. And then it happens again or happens again. And we're just kind of like, y'all not going to put us on that roller coaster no more. Like, I don't want to be on a roller coaster. So, like, for me, if they're not putting us on a roller coaster, then okay, fine. I don't really care. Because at the end of the day, I mean, it don't pay any of our bills, whether they leave their men or not. It doesn't. That's how I mean, that's my metric for life right now anyway. And I think especially since my dad died, I'm very much like that does not affect me. I don't care. Like, because I know in the grand scheme of things, my priorities are very much different, right? It's like my priority is like, is my mom okay? You know what I'm saying? Like, how's my sister doing? Right? These are the things that I think about more often than anything else. So, life experience, it changes you and kind of makes you think about things in a different way. So, anyway, I didn't mean to go down that rabbit hole because I know it's not an easy thing to talk about. And I know a lot of you guys, based on your comments, are dealing with some of the same things. But I wanted to put it in perspective, right? Like, okay, like we all going through so much. Like, okay, I just want to be entertained. Period. So with the transparency conversation that Nell is wanting to have, it's like, well, I don't know how transparent you want them to be with you because y'all are still getting to know each other. So maybe it's about spending maybe one-on-one time with them more so than just in the group, wherein it seems like there is supposed to be a scene that's being made and the tea is supposed to be spilled because nobody's going to just spill their own tea like that. But if you maybe got to know them one on one, or at least one of them one on one, then it may be a little bit easier to extract information that make you feel like they're being more transparent. Because right now we don't see a lot of that happening. When you think about the mechanics of this show, Nell had traditionally been more of Mel's friend, and let's just be honest, the relationships between Mel and Letitia and Kimmy, especially towards the end, it wasn't good. Like as much as I felt like they tried to make it good, it just wasn't. So given that Nell was very strongly standing by Mel, it kind of makes sense that they are not that close and they would not be transparent with you yet. But the reality of the situation is that we are in a different phase of the show. And so if you are to get to know these women and they are to get to know you, it's going to have to happen on one-on-one type of terms. But I do think that Nell and Letitia will never probably get along because I also think that Letitia is also a bit of a wild card, which I do actually enjoy in these recent seasons, because her pop off game is quite strong. So when they are at Latricia's event, her birthday thing, and the ladies do sit down again, minus Destiny, it is very much giving that Nell still wants to broach this transparent conversation. And Kimmy's like, well, what do you want me to be transparent about? What are you trying to get me to say? And there's a degree to which I understand what Nell is saying, because in the conversation last week when it was brought up about what Martell had done with the interview with the girl, Letitia kind of shut it down. But again, we already knew that Letitia was going to do that because we saw the live with her and Marceau. And we know the reasons why they weren't going to do it, because they felt like somebody else is trying to write their story for the season and they don't want to do that. Now, whether or not that's allowed or not, I mean, I can't really, but how you respond on a reality TV show is how you respond. So I understand where Nell is coming from to a certain degree, and I get it, but I also get that if you're not going to get anywhere with the situation, you're just not going to get anywhere with the situation. You kind of just got to let it go at this point, because it's like, if y'all don't really even like each other, it's like, how y'all going to extract information from each other? So it's kind of it's a no-win situation. Then you look at the situation that's happening with the men as they confront Chris Fletcher about what he said about Marceau and Maurice seeming like the kind of guys that would, have the women sign NDAs if they were to like do some things with the women's. And when they confront him about it, Chris is like, no, that's not really how it happened. Well, I'm like, yeah, Chris, it actually is how it happened. And I don't know how anybody in the circle is letting him get away with this, but I do feel like now we're going from a conversation about transparency, which is a bit more nuanced, to a conversation about, did you say this or did you not? When I saw it on camera, you said it. So how are you going to tell me to my face right now that you didn't say it? See, now there's no nuance there. There is actually, yes, you said it, and why did you say it? okay, you're going to answer the question or not, or you're going to run scared. Because I feel like that's what Chris does a lot. I feel like he does a lot of things or says a lot of things, and then when faced with the men, he doesn't really back it up like that. Like, and I feel like like from letting Martell talk to his wife any kind of way to now standing in front of the men and being punked by them. So not that I felt like they kind of like they went into it with the intent to punk him, and he got punked. But I do feel like if that's how you feel, then stand on what you say. Now, his logic, his explanation makes sense, but again, you still said it. So I don't know. The ladies come and they get involved because they want to ask the men directly, specifically. The original conversation I thought that the women were going to approach the men about was really about I thought that they were approaching Marceau and Maurice about how they felt about what Martell had said and done in that interview with that girl. But what it turns into, Letitia flipped that script real quick and turned it into, Chris, you said this about our husbands and these NDAs, and her hands is in his face. And I did like what Chris said, is that the only person I really have to answer to is my wife. Because that's the truth. I mean, whether or not we feel like he was avoiding the situation, whether or not he feel like he was getting punked or not, I guess he realized that it would be better to, because he don't want to be punked by Miss Nell, because he got to go home with her. So that was actually correct, what he said. But I think at the end of the day, what I realized was, oh, that was interesting, because she sure enough did flip that switch, and she made that into, no, girl, no, we're not gonna talk about our husbands. We're gonna talk about yours, okay? And so Nell is very much like, don't be putting your fingers in my man's face, okay? That's what we're not gonna do. That's what we're not gonna do today. So we leave off with there being some tension, and Maurice has to kind of pull Letitia to the side and tell her, like, yo, we already punked him about that. So, girl, like, you could let it go. And Miss Nell is still like, I don't really care for you. So we're gonna have to deal with that as we move forward as well. So it was a very interesting episode. I'm still interested to see where it goes. I also actually started watching a little bit of Heart and Hustle Houston. Is that the name of the show? Are you guys watching that? Let me know if you are in the chat, and I will see if I want to continue that. So, with that being said, let me know what you guys think. Do you agree with me? Do you not agree with me? It's fine if you don't agree with me, because I love reading you guys' opinions, because sometimes they open my mind up to different opinions, and I feel like that's what this whole channel is for. So, anyway, let me know what you guys think about it in the comment section down below. And with that being said, I will catch you in the next video.